Let's go ahead and answer some of these listener emails. I do get a lot of emails every single day. I'm unable to respond to most of those emails, but I want to go ahead and start kind of each day taking one of your email questions and answering it here in a segment for you. This one comes in from Roger Gutierrez. He says, "Hey, Kim, what do you think will happen if Trump loses? Do you think Trump will just go back to being a businessman and disappear? Do you think he'll start his own news network? What do you think will happen to the Republican Party?" Really good question, Roger. Thank you so much for sending it in. So I do not think Trump is going to go back to being a businessman and disappearing. So if he loses, and I think there's a really good chance Trump loses, I think that things absolutely will not return back to normal. The Republican Party is the party of Trump, whether Republicans like it or not. And believe me, when he's gone, when Trump is out of the office, Republicans are going to hope that things can return to normal, even for them. And they will be, it's going to be unfortunate for them when they realize that that is not the case. The Republican Party has forever shifted. The Republican base are now these kind of blue collar working folks who are struggling, and they're trying to achieve an American dream that has been ripped away from them since, for a while now, especially since 2008, and that crash, that economic crash that people have not been able to recover from. And I think that the base of the Republican Party has forever shifted. And I think what is going to happen is Trump is the idea that he'll start his own news network. I think that's interesting. And I think it's very possible that Trump will either start his own news network or invest in one, or maybe even buy an existing one. I think it'd be interesting if he wanted to buy Fox News. Now, I heard a rumor that Fox News might shift when the Murdochs, I guess the older one is maybe, how old is that guy? Is he at the point where he's passing away, or is he, maybe he's just wanting to retire and the Sons are going to take it over? And I think the Sons are much more liberal and they want to kind of change Fox News. I heard a rumor of that. I don't know if that's the case and Fox News shifts and it's no longer sort of the news network for the Republican Party. I definitely think there is an avenue for Trump and others to get together and start a network that would be more of that right-wing conservative, or take over Fox, for example. I don't think Trump is going to be a businessman and disappear. I do think that he will benefit from being president of the United States, like every last president has since, I think Carter's the only one that Carter was the last one that didn't go and become a profiteer off of being president. Since him, though, all of the presidents, the Bushes, Obama, Clintons, they all made gobs and gobs and gobs of money and became billionaires essentially from being president. And I think Trump will do that same. He'll follow that precedent, because why wouldn't he? He was doing that prior to being president. He'll do it after. And I think the Republican Party has forever shifted. I think there's actually a chance, and this is a long shot chance, but I do think there is a chance that the Republican Party, I think there's a chance we're living in an era where the Republican Party and the Democrat Party flip. And we saw this happen in the 60s and 70s, when the Democrats were the racist party, right? And then Democrats shifted and became the party of embracing all races and ethnicities. And the Republican Party apparently became the party of racism. And I think, we're seeing that shift maybe happening right in front of our eyes now. And I don't know how long it will take for that shift to complete, if that shift is happening. But I do think there is a possibility the Republican Party is shifting and becoming, interestingly, way more progressive and becoming the Democrat Party of old. And I think that the base will dictate this. So, yeah, you've got these old guard in the Republican Party. You've got the Mitch McConnells of the Republican Party and the Ted Cruzes of the Republican Party. But at the end of the day, the voting base will dictate where that party goes. And if the voting base if they're able to increasingly gain this kind of working class, blue collar person in the middle of America, I think there is a real possibility that they shift and have to implement more and more social programs for the people. They become more and more about the working class, while the Democratic Party becomes more and more the party for Wall Street and the elites. I think that very well could happen. And I think if that were the case, that it might be a good thing overall, because it might actually take sort of the race narrative out of the political realm. Right now, we've got a lot of race talk. It's all about racism on both sides. We see a lot of like dog whistles and race baiting, and we see a lot of conversation all surrounding race rather than policy. And I think if the Republican Party, if the base starts to shift and pull the Republican Party more towards working class needs, then I think we're going to see fewer discussions about race and more discussions about policy, because Democrats will be forced into talking policy when the Republican base is saying, what are you, the politician, going to do for us to help us and to help our daily lives and to help us achieve that American dream that we were sold and we've been spoon-fed since we were children. So I think it's going to be interesting. But I think Trump definitely is not going to fade away into the background. I think he's definitely going to be still rallying people up. I think he's still going to go around doing campaigning events for Republicans. And because of that, and because he is the most popular person in the Republican Party, I do think that the Republicans might shift to that more populist Republican rhetoric and maybe actually follow through with it and, actually believe in it and follow through with it. I think Trump, for him, he just knew what people wanted to hear. He's a very good showman, and he knows what people want to hear. And so I think he says a lot of things a lot of times that people want to hear, and then he doesn't really know how to follow through or implement them, or he loses interest. I think another politician, on the other hand, maybe not, though. You know what? It could happen that these Republicans, they figure it out, and they give a lot of lip service, and they say, oh, yeah, we're going to implement all these populist ideas, and for the working class, we're going to help you. And then they go to Washington, they continue the same old of being bought out by corporations, bought out by big money interests, and just enjoying their lavish lifestyle of caviar and champagne in D.C. That is a huge possibility. I think that's more likely, and that is why we need a third party in America. I can't say that enough at this point. We need a third party. We need a third party. We need a third party. But I don't think Trump is going to disappear. I think the Republican Party's forever changed. And I think the Republicans are going to be shocked by that. I know that they're trying to groom Nikki Haley to be the next person for their party. They really want Nikki Haley to be the new star of the Republican Party. And I just don't think that's going to happen. She's got way too calm of a demeanor for, I think, the new Republican base, and is not a populist. And I think that's where the Republican Party is now headed. So thank you for that email, Roger. Really appreciate that. If you would like to send in an email, a question or comment, please do so. Kim@KimIverson.com. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching this. This is a new thing that I'm testing out, kind of doing this as a full radio show broadcast. I know this was a bit of a short one. I'll, as kind of time goes on, maybe increase it. I don't know. I'm kind of playing around with it, but I appreciate you being here and watching and joining me on this journey as I try to figure this out. So I appreciate that. If you could please, depending on where you're watching this, if you're watching this, obviously you're watching the long form program here, be sure you could subscribe to my email newsletter. You could go to KimIverson.com and sign up there, where you'll get more updates on what it is, some changes I'm making, and what it is I'm doing. So if you'd like to support the show, the links are down below. Really appreciate you. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you tomorrow.